All right. Just while everyone's trickling in here,
Mm.
we'll just give it a couple of minutes or a minute or so
Yeah, they're
for
coming
people
in
who are,
now.
yeah, people who are coming from their other meetings or
Yeah.
coming in after their lunch break. So going here, still kicking up. Those of you who come to a lot of my investor Q&A webinars will know that I use this microwave popcorn reference. So whenever the time for new joins stops to a couple of seconds per new join is around about the right time to start a webinar, in my view. So we're getting close now, starting to slow down. The pops are slowing. So I might get us going because then anyone who's still joining, they'll just miss out on the virtual introduction and they'll be here for the important bits, which is to hear from the Earthletica team. So hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar with Earthletica. My name is Kirsten Hunter, I'm the CEO here at Birchal. And just before I introduce Chris, Libby and Bronte, I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land that I'm calling into you today from. I'm on the lands of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation and pay my respects to elders past and present. So today we are joined by the Earthletica team, and Birchal is working with Earthletica on an upcoming crowdsource funding offer. If you haven't heard of crowdsource funding before, you might know it as equity crowdfunding, and it's a form of fundraising in Australia that allows startups and small and growing businesses to raise capital from a large number of small or retail investors and wholesale or sophisticated investors through an online platform like Birchal. So instead of seeking funding from traditional sources like banks or venture capital or private equity, companies can instead turn to their general public, often to their communities, to raise money in exchange for their community members becoming shareholders in their business. So for founders, it's a way to turn their passionate supporters into shareholders. And for investors, it's a way for us to back founders and ideas who we want to see succeed. And then when they do, to get a slice of that success. Birchal Financial Services will be the licensed intermediary for the offer. The information and discussion on this webinar is for informational purposes only and shouldn't be considered as advice or as a recommendation to invest. Please do your own research and always consider the general CSF risk warning before investing. And if you have any questions on that or want to read the risk warning, you can head on over to our website, birchal.com. How today's session is going to run. So the team is going to take us through a presentation all about the great things that they've been building at Earthletica and their traction so far. And then we'll move into a question and answer session. So if you look at the bottom of your Zoom window down here, you'll see a little Q&A box. At any time during the presentation or in the discussion that follows, feel free to drop your questions in there and then I'll facilitate the questions and ask them with the team. We are recording today, so if you do need to jump off early, a recording will be shared afterwards with everyone who has signed up for this webinar. So without further ado, Bronte, take it away.
Hello, thank you so much. Welcome everybody. And we are sharing. We're good to go. The first hurdle has been jumped, which is the
Woo!
important one. Hello, my name is Bronte Campbell. I am the co-founder, CEO of Earthletica. I'm here with my other two co-founders, Libby Babbitt and Chris Rayleigh. Let me introduce you to those two first a little bit. Libby Babbitt, we like to call her the ball of energy. She has over 17 years in health and fitness. She is our head of product and community. She's an experienced entrepreneur, founding many different businesses, including the Upbeat and Chief Nutrition. So lots of her skills have been pulled across into Earthletica as well. We have Chris with us here. He is what we like to call the I wouldn't say pessimist, I would say lawyer. He is the person that evaluates all risk. He is an intellectual property lawyer, which, as you will hear later in our pitch, is really important for our future. He has a passion for fitness and innovation and is really the grounding force in our operations. So Chris is our co-founder, but also our COO. All right, Earthletica. Why on earth are you hearing from someone that makes their living swimming up and down a black line? My previous life as an Olympic swimmer brought me to this problem. And I used to wear activewear every single day as part of my job. And then I learned that most activewear is made using 100% virgin synthetics. So what that means is new synthetics, so new plastic that's created just to make activewear and treated with really harsh chemicals. That's over 92 million tons of plastic waste a year. Those chemicals can be really disrupting to our bodies as well. And so once I started looking at the problem, I realized that nobody was really addressing this fully. There was no activewear that I could find that had the performance that I needed, as well as having less plastic in it. So that's where Athletica started and came about because there was this big hole in the marketplace. I mean, you can't just create a product for yourself. So you have to look at does anybody else want this? And the research really clearly shows that concern is growing in the community about synthetics in clothing overall, that consumers do want to reduce their use of plastic, and that it's a big enough market that we can go after a chunk of it and make a really big difference. The size of that opportunity and market there, that global activewear market, 600 billion, it's almost it's almost a number that's too big to comprehend. And it's really important to notice that the really large companies and legacy companies that operate in this space have really deeply entrenched supply chains that are reliant on virgin synthetics. And this is where our opportunity exists because we're building this from the ground up. We're building the supply chain and the innovation into our business model so that we can scale faster than any one of them can pivot. Even if tomorrow they all were to turn around and say, hey, we actually want to do better, which seems unlikely, but even if they did, we still have the advantage there. So our solution,
Mm.
Earthletica, why, what are we actually going to do about it? You can see there our vision where a world where innovation, sustainability, and quality exist together without compromise. And each one of those pieces are really important, as Libby will explain when we get into product. Quality is such an important part of sustainability as well. We're on this mission to eradicate new plastic and forever chemicals from high performance activewear. And again, when we talk about our product, Libby will tell you a little bit more about what we're doing in that space. But where we've started is by using recycled fabrics in all of our pieces. So that's built into our entire supply chain. We've also managed to innovate by bringing world first technology, commercializing that, and producing that at scale. We have the connections that can make this happen, not only for the innovations that exist in the marketplace now, but for new innovations in the future. A really important point there is the end of life recycling. So post-consumer waste is what we use for making those recycled fabrics. It diverts plastics from landfill. But what happens at the end of a product life? So we partner with Apparel, which is an Australian company that recycles these products at the end of their life. We also use a third-party verifier to make sure that our fabrics are up to code. And with that, Libby, I'm going to let you start talking about how you came to this problem yourself and also talk about our customers and our product.
Yes, absolutely. So I guess I am, as well as being the energy driver of the team, I also am on the ground with our customers every single day. So I've run gyms for the past, goodness, almost 20 years now. And I have had a lot of access to women in this kind of 25 to 45-year-old and beyond, but really that core age bracket who are coming to the gym every day, wearing their activewear every day, but also training hard. So women that are there 4 to 5 days a week and rotating through their activewear like nothing else. And throughout that time, I guess I really got to know them very well. And I've always been one of them myself. And I guess a lot of us simultaneously started to be aware at the same time of the problem that Bronte just explained, that activewear was made from new plastic and the activewear industry was ramping up. Like when I first entered it, we were wearing our dad's old footy shorts to train. And all of a sudden there were all this kind of plastic-led activewear being created. And over the time I've been in the space, I've seen a lot of new fashion and a lot of new looks, but I didn't see much movement towards actually creating better fabrics, creating better solutions, looking at the cut as being very, very important to the way women needed it to be on their bodies to train and to have a durable solution that looked good, felt great for a long time, because durability, as we know, is also a real form of sustainability. So, I really got to know these customers. As you can see here, they're people who love fitness and health and style and the environment. They very much need activewear that can perform in a heavy workout. So There are lots of solutions out there that are made from completely natural fabrics, but they would never hold up in the kind of workouts that I'm seeing these women go through and that I'm taking my own body through. And they really want to do better for their health and for the environment as well. So I saw a real gap there, along with Chris and Bronte, to deliver something that, you know, wasn't only a better solution for now, but had a future of innovation that would allow that kind of future fit activewear solution to get better and better and evolve with our customer base and with the technology as it was coming out. So, you know, our customers have been absolutely loving our performance, you know, of our gear. And you see here when I've said what we deliver, the results that we get for our clients in terms of just how they feel when they walk into the gym is almost as exciting as the sustainability. And they just love that it has that component too. So, you know, we've really tailored it for unmatched fit and hold. And that's super important because I've worn so many activewear brands in my lifetime, and a lot of it just doesn't even have that tailoring that women really need when they step into the gym. So they've been loving that has that comfort and that feel that they really love to step into, where they want to wash and wear our pieces over and again. It has an elevated style, you know, something that's classic and beautiful and is going to make them feel like a little superhero when they walk into the gym, but also that they'll want to reach for again and again. It's very classic and they don't have to continually buy new things, and a cleaner sweat. So less chemicals, a better, deeper woven fabric, which we can talk about later. So that's a bit about our customer and how we came to that solution. And I am, as Bronte said, a multipreneur who has, you know, I've always delivered for the wellness space, whether it's gyms, snack foods, and now activewear. So we're very uniquely positioned in this marketplace. You know, some of you might have watched our video where I kind of said, you know, a lot of brands talk about performance and some talk about sustainability, but not a lot of them can merge the two. And I've seen brands struggle with getting both of those in the same piece of activewear over and again. And I think we probably had that you know, that beginner's mind when we came to the space, where we hadn't been in that fashion space before. So we came at it like an athlete. We knew exactly what we wanted. We wanted products that addressed both high performance and high sustainability and getting better with every collection that we design. And we really wanted a price that reflected the quality of those products, but also was accessible to our consumers, because if it's completely top level, then we won't get that that kind of mass coverage that's really going to change the industry and help us to leave a legacy in this industry that I personally have loved for more of my life than I have not been in it. You know, I've been in this space for so long, and I think this is a really important change that we can make that's just going to leave the world and the women and the industry in such a better place. So that's kind of where we sit. And our customers are just loving our gear. And this is something that it just makes my heart light up. We have not even gone broad yet with our marketing. It's all been organic and word of mouth, people telling each other that they need to get Earthletica in their wardrobe. And, you know, really the number one thing here has been that people are just thinking that it has unmatched fit, feel, and performance. And this is absolutely true. Like I said, I've worn every top brand, and every time my Earthletica is in the wash and I reach for one of those old pieces, I take it straight off again because it just feels so good to wear and holds the body in just the way that athletes need it to hold. We've tested our pieces for harmful chemicals, and people love that. They know that we've got top certifications. And by the way, less than 1% of activewear and fashion are actually tested for harmful chemicals, and a lot of them are laden with them. Ours are tested for over 100 harmful chemicals, and they're so good for even sensitive skins that even babies can wear them with no problem. And that's to do with the construction, as well as the fabrics, as well as the lack of chemicals going on top. And yeah, they just love the luxe style. They love the aesthetic. It's just been awesome feedback, and they love supporting our mission. And that may be that, like, just the cherry on the top for them, but it's certainly not the small cherry. It's a big cherry. They're really excited and proud to have that Earthletica and tell people what they're doing. And we have spent years developing the most incredible supply chain that allows us to now confidently kind of step into the space where we can serve more people. And with that, I will head over to Chris.
Thanks, Libby. So we know that the supply chain can make or break a product business. So in the early days, we spent significant time sampling and testing with different manufacturers to get our first products to market in 2023. When we launched that first run, it sold out, which was a great validation for us. After Bronte joined the team, we started pushing much harder into innovation. What we discovered through that process is that it's actually a really exciting time to be building in sustainable garment technology. The push for better recycled, better fabric started more than a decade ago, and the quality and innovation has now reached a point where they're commercially viable. There's now a growing ecosystem of innovators and suppliers who are actively looking for strong brand partners to bring these technologies to market. As an early stage company, that puts us in a strong position to move quickly with these innovations, while larger legacy brands can often take years to bring a new product to market. And the Bronte jacket, which I'll show you on the next slide, is proof that we can bring those innovations together into a real product. So the great example of this is the Bronte jacket, which Bronte gave its global debut. She walked to the blocks in the finals of Olympic swimming trials. Earthletica brought together 3 global innovators to create a genuine world first jacket. Now that first world first is from YKK, the largest zipper company in the world. We were the first brand to use their Airy String zipper in a jacket. Wired magazine described the Airy String as the most innovative zipper in 100 years. The jacket also uses bio-alloy shield, a plant-based, PFAS-free, waterproof membrane developed by the US biotech company Modern Meadow, who spent 4 years developing this technology. And we were the first company in the world to use it in a jacket. Now, being the first company to bring these breakthrough technologies together into a commercial product was a major milestone for us and a great example of what we can achieve. The Bronte jacket caught the attention of Billio, a world-leading product innovation lab in San Francisco. The founder of Billio, Billy Smith, has since invested in Earthletica, and we're now partnering with them on future technology. This process also helped us expand our supplier network so that we're not reliant on a single partner or region. We now have a supply chain that can work with leading recycled materials, integrate new innovation, and collaborate with us to co-create the next generation of products as we scale. These partnerships have taken years to build, and they can't be easily replicated. And that's a real competitive advantage for us as we scale. And now I'll pass back to Bronte.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Libby. So we have really spent a long time setting our bases. That's the most important thing. The hardest thing in a product business is really looking at getting the product really right and then a supply chain that can actually scale. But then we move on to looking at, okay, what metrics do we need to actually see to show that we're ready for scaling? And these are some of them that we can show you right now. So this is our lifetime value. That basically means the value that customers spent with us in the last 6 months. $510 is well above industry average and is a really good place to start. It also shows us that people really love the product and are coming back to it over and over again. Again, this is reiterated by that repeat purchase rate, which is at 50%. The industry standard is about 30%. So we're already well above that. It shows that the product is performing really well. And to Libby's point earlier, we need to make a more sustainable product because that is the future. That is the way that this industry will continue to exist in the future. But if we cannot create something that people love, that they want to wear on their bodies every day, then we're also not succeeding. So this repeat purchase rate is actually a really important indicator that the product is doing really well, not once, but over and over again. With the supply chain, the gross product margin is the really important one there. And as Chris said, we've come to the industry at a really great time where the innovation that has been done over the last 10 years, 10, 15 years, when people first started looking at garment sustainability, this technology is now coming to market in a really affordable way where we can still have a product margin that we can scale with without having to set a price point that is entirely prohibitive for anybody else to enter into the market. As Libby showed you, we are at the mid to high range, reflecting our quality of our garments, but we are not we're definitely not the highest priced in the marketplace, and we're still within 10% of our competitors in that space. I'll very quickly talk about MER, marketing efficiency ratio. This is all very jargony, so apologies. Very basically, your marketing efficiency ratio shows how well your marketing dollars are coming back to you in the business. And we have done some initial market testing. We grew through organic growth, and in the last few months, we've started testing marketing to see, hey, when we go broader with this, does this still resonate? A 10 marketing efficiency ratio means that for every $1 spent in market, $10 is coming back to the business. Now, in order to scale, you need an MER of about 2 to 3. So we're well above that. 10 is very, very high. I do expect that it will come down over the lifetime of our brand. But these are the initial indicators that we looked at that said, hey, we're actually ready to go and start scaling. So start scaling. What are we going to do? We are currently raising capital. Where is this actually going to go? That's the most important thing to know. And a lot of it will go towards marketing. As we showed you before in those metrics, it's a really good indication that marketing will work really well for us. Because we are a direct-to-consumer brand, we have a lot of control over our brand, and that'll be the first place that we grow and continue marketing in that space. However, we will move into that omni-channel distribution, which is where you bring in wholesalers, and I'll go into a little bit more detail in the next slides. That new product innovation. So that's where we work with our innovation partners like Bilio to bring completely plastic-free tech to market. We've already developed a prototype last year, and now it's about bringing that into a product and bringing it to the world. It's a really, really exciting innovation. What's so great about what we're doing is where we're starting now, we're very proud of the product. It works really well, and it's already better than what anybody else is doing in the industry. But it's not where we're going to stop. Like, we're going to continue to innovate as we move forwards. And the overseas market testing, I'll get into that a little bit more detail as we move through this. The team expansion will be to support some of these activities. All right, the playbook, marketing and distribution. These are the two drivers of growth. As you probably saw in our bios at the start, not one of us is a marketing expert. So we need to bring on extra people to do that. We have Prasad, who will begin working with us in the next few weeks. He was the digital marketing lead at The Iconic and grew it from the ground up. So he knows about small businesses and scaling them in a digital space. He's incredible, and we can't wait to start working with him. But we also know that in order to support just performance marketing by itself is not enough. You need to have the brand being very strong and founder-led content being very strong there too. That is really our unique advantage in this space, is that Libby is so well trusted in the fitness and health community, and I have a big following also in sport. So we can leverage both of those communities as we begin to grow and really support that performance marketing, so it doesn't have to sit by itself. That distribution piece, starting in e-commerce, as I said, gives us a lot of control. It helps us control our margin. It makes sure that we can control the brands really well. And once we have scale, we can move into wholesale. The strategy behind this is really simple. If you move to wholesale really early, you can get really stuck in contracts that continually squeeze you out. If your brand is reliant only on wholesalers, then you are sort of at their mercy. So making sure that our brand is really solid and we can scale by ourselves before we expand into that space is really, really important to us before we move into having our own footprint, which is obviously a bigger investment. So we would love to have a store. We're going to have a store and people can come talk to us and touch the product and feel it. But that's sort of the third step along the way. That overseas expansion, as you saw from our mission and vision, this is not just about the Australian market. The Australian market is about $20 billion. So it's big. It's a good place to start. But this is really about changing globally the activewear industry. So United States is a really good place to start. I'll explain why in a few slides through a case study. However, it's not the only place. Given the disruption around tariffs in the last year, we have looked at other spaces like Asia and Europe, which both show a lot of promise. However, that expansion is sort of 24, 36 months away. So we've got a little bit more time before we make a decision on that. But just so you know, that's where we're headed. Leveraging what we're already doing. These are the sort of activities that we've seen have worked really well. Founder-led content, behind the scenes, online workouts, different ways for people to engage with the brands. That community engagement when we have run events have done so incredibly well, and we'll continue to do that. Again, that's an advantage we have over big brands that can't really do this stuff as well as we can. And Libby's our competitive advantage when it comes to brand collabs and influencers, because she works really well in that space. So all of these activities that we're doing now, we'll be able to supercharge and continue doing with the support from the performance marketing as well to scale. So that's on the business side of things. This is a very busy slide. That's because I designed it, and I like to put a lot of things on the page. But this is about our product and where we're going with it. So as you can see, we started with something that's better than the industry average, but that's not where we're going to end up. As Chris showed you, we do have a supply chain that can integrate innovation, and we've got the innovator at the start that can help us co-create that innovation. What I do want to be really clear on here is that we are not an R&D lab. And we do not take on all of the costs of the R&D. As we did with the Bronte jacket, we leverage those partnerships to create product. We create product and we commercialize it. And there is some investment that goes into that, but it is not as expensive as starting from the very beginning. For instance, Modern Meadow, who created a wonderful jacket and the waterproofing on that jacket, they spent 5 years developing that in a lab. That is not where we're starting. We're starting significantly further down this chain, and we're also not taking on all of the costs that come with that. All right, jumping into a few case studies. I mean, I mentioned this at the top, why the big brands can't solve this problem. And it really is to do with the supply chain. I mean, when you're doing $11 billion in sales and all of those are reliant on synthetic fibers and 100% virgin plastics, it's a really slow pivot to come around to having a fully recycled supply chain or even bringing new innovations to market. So that's really a competitive advantage against the really, really big players in this space. There is a bit of fatigue with these players as well, with quite a lot of greenwashing court cases. This comes when they might do one product with some recycled fibers in it and then pretend that that's their entire range. And this has led to a lot of court cases overseas, particularly for Lululemon. So consumers and regulators are really a bit savvy to that now. So that's another barrier for these bigger brands and why we can scale faster than they can pivot in this space. Okay, activewear brands. Does anybody actually like succeed in a crowded market space? This is where Viore is a really good one to look at. It might not be a brand you're really familiar with here in Australia, but it has grown exponentially in the US, as you can see. They did a really good job of targeting men's activewear, and on that point, we do women's activewear, and range expansion will expand into men being able to get in on the action as well. The women's activewear market is about 290 billion, so it is the bigger market. But it is also super important to show that the men's activewear space is evolving really, really fast, and men are actually buying in this space, whereas previously they were just wearing the old sweats, as Libby said. So there is space, and there have been brands come through that have come through with a fresh idea and a point of differentiation. And if you have those, you can succeed even in this crowded industry. Very lastly, in our case studies, I do want to talk about Nagnata, which is such a great Australian brand. We love Nagnata. They do woolen activewear. However, this is as Libby was explaining at the start, the issue when we come down to the fabric. So even when you're using natural fibers like wool, in order to get something that sits close to your skin that has stretch and compression, you do need to still use elastane. Elastane is the bit that gives stretch and compression, and that is a synthetic fiber. That is the piece that we're working on with Bilio to make completely plastic free, to have an alternative to that. So that's something that the entire industry would be able to license and use in the future. So it's not just about lifting ourselves up. It is about lifting the entire industry as we go and showing that their natural fibers alone cannot solve the problem. Recycled fibers alone cannot solve the problem, but finding a way to integrate new innovation into both of those technologies is going to be the future solve for us. And we will have time for Q&A today, which is great. But to sum up that entire presentation, we really do have a team that deeply understand product, customer, supply chain, and the legal IP to get this done. We have metrics that we've tested that we know that we can scale from, and we have access to the tech to move forward and change the entire industry to create a future that's fit not just for me, not just for Chris, not just for Libby, but for absolutely all of us. So thank you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, team. Really, really great to hear about all of the progress. And I'm quite familiar with the Earthletica story. We worked together a couple of years ago in my last role at Techstars, but it's come such a long way since I have last seen the pitch. So really appreciate you taking me through it, and also obviously all of the people on the call who are hearing the pitch for the first time. So we've had a flurry of questions come through already. And just a reminder, if anyone else has questions, or if you have questions pop up as you go, drop them in that Q&A box and I'll facilitate the discussion through. But we might start with a few product questions, because there's been a few different questions that have come through across a couple of different topics. But to start with, you touched on the sort of potential to expand into different product lines as you continue to grow the business. So can you talk about sort of why you've chosen to focus where you have today on women's activewear, in particular sort of women's activewear below size 14, and do you have thoughts around increasing to larger sizes, adding a maternity range, adding a menswear range? How are you thinking about moving forward from here?
I can take that one. And yes, absolutely. Look, our sizing range is limited at the moment. We've focused on women. We haven't got the men involved yet. We haven't done maternity yet. We're very, very transparent about that. And the reason for that is really, really simple. We had never been in the fashion or the activewear space before this. And we knew we had to really learn product deeply, to build our supply chain, to network in the space, to get the product on people and to get them using it and get feedback. So basically, the bottom line is that we are quite early stage. We have not spent marketing dollars except for a tiny bit of testing at this point. So for the past number of years, we knew we would be starting with the people that were right in front of us. Okay, so these are the people that are in my gym every single day, that are in Bondi, and we were looking around, and the bottom line is that it's very expensive to go beyond 5 sizes. So when you're early stage and relying on your own money to get this thing off the ground, you kind of have to pick a target market. So we kind of did a bit of a poll, bit of research, bit of study as to the people around us that we'd be talking to, that we'd be getting in the gear, and we went with the 5 kind of sizes that were the majority. That's not to say that's everyone, but were the majority of the people that were in front of us at the time. And that's simply because we haven't gone outside our little network here yet. You know, my gym is mostly younger women. A lot of them are pre-babies and all that jazz. So that is why we started with that range. And definitely 100%, we have always wanted to go beyond that size range, and we considered it very deeply at the start. And it just came down to the fact that we were early stage. We knew we had to spend our money carefully. We knew we had to get it on the people in front of us and get testing. And you know that old thing they say where if you wait to launch your perfect product and it's exactly how you want it to be, you've waited 10 years too long. That's kind of where we were. We needed to get going. So we went with what's in front of us. But look, one of our next expansion goals, and one of the reasons we're doing this raise, is to get beyond that, to spend in marketing, to broaden our reach, to spend in product, broaden our size range, get into men's, get into all different sorts of women that are outside the immediate people in front of us, and also get into maternity, which is, to be honest, one of my big passion areas as well. I've got a couple of kids of my own and started my whole career working with pre and postnatal women. So certainly this capital raise helps us to kind of expand production runs and get into all those different spaces that are outside the immediate people we knew we could test on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, just so to back up, Libby, then a narrow focus at the start before expanding is the best way for us to scale and accelerate. But it doesn't mean it's our only focus in the future.
Yes, 100%.
Perfect. Thank you. So you mentioned that a lot of the recycled plastics are post-consumer, but does that mean that you're stuck with whatever chemicals and junk are in the plastic in the first iteration of its lifetime? You mentioned that you do screen for a lot of chemicals, but can you talk a little bit about that process of how you sort of make sure that the plastics that are recycled that go into the athletic wear are the best for the environment and for the people who are wearing the product?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we're not the scientists in the room, so I can't really give you the scientific breakdown there. But what I can tell you is we looked very deeply into the particular certifications that really made sure that what ended up in our activewear was free of as many harmful chemicals as possible. And we also looked at the kind of knit and construction of our fabrics and of our pieces. And that is a very, very important one. So let's touch on those two things separately very quickly. So there are certifications you can get. One of the top ones it's OEKO-TEX, and I always say it wrong, so I'm just going to leave it there. But you can check it out on our site, and basically it tests for 100 harmful substances in all of your recycled activewear and make sure that what we're putting on is perfect for sensitive skins. It's like product class 1. It can even go on babies without kind of doing anything negative to them. I mean, we don't make that size yet either, but there it is. So we've made sure we've got that. We've made sure everything's global recycled standard, that our organics are up to scratch. We've got all those certifications. So step 1 is making sure that our manufacturers are doing the work. And this is why when Chris touched on how important the supply chain is, it's not just having the supply chain there. We have spent years traveling the globe, meeting people, looking at how they do things, like looking at their certifications. We've got also Green Story on, which is an independent body that actually tracks our supply chain and has a look at how our products are made and what fabrics we're using to make sure that everything we say is correct and we're not, saying anything that's not true. So we've had that independently verified. The actual science at the very base level of it, I can't tell you myself, but I know that we've had so many conversations about this and made sure we've got the best quality of everything that we can to put on your bodies at this point. So that's been really important to us from the start, absolutely. And by the way, less than 1% of fabrics are tested. So, we've really got that top little percentage at the top of the peak for you.
Yeah, awesome. And I know that in this space, like the sustainability of fabrics is a bit of a spectrum. So at one end, you've got the, complete virgin plastics with no real testing or consideration. At the other end, you've got completely natural fibers, and recycled is in the middle. Do you have a feel for like the comparative impact on the environment of recycled plastics versus the virgin synthetic plastics? Like including the kind of the effort to take the plastic from post-consumer format into a format that they can be used in the athletic wear.
That is actually something that Green Story evaluates. So Green Story, our third-party certifier, they come in and they evaluate the life cycle of the product and then compare it to what it would be like if it was produced as a virgin synthetic. So off the back of that, we can see the energy that is saved, the water that is saved. You can see this tracked on our website. It's something like 20,000 liters of water saved so far, 18,000 PET bottles recycled. So it is possible to track how much better it is. I would also say, like with the organic fabrics, we do use organic natural fibers in our outerwear as well. So that shirt that Libby is wearing is organic cotton, because that's outerwear, because that can sit on the outside of your body. It doesn't have to sit as close or have the stretch and compression support that, say, my shirt does, which is a workout tank. So we can evaluate how much better we are than the virgin synthetics, and we can also say which fibers we can use in the natural sense that also makes sense for the function of the product.
Awesome. And I know you've mentioned a couple of times the work that you've done in getting the supply chain in order. Can you talk about that at a high level, in particular where the product is manufactured today, and if you have any plans to change where it's manufactured in the future?
Do you want me to go at that, or is that it?
No, I was going to let Chris talk because he hasn't spoken for a while.
I was like, take it over.
I'll jump in at the end, Chris.
Sure. So where we currently get manufactured is in China, because you have to get it made in the position where the manufacturer is making a great quality product. But what's really important for our supply chain is having diversified options. So we've got an amazing partnership network where we can actually change the location of where we're getting manufactured if we need to, and if it makes more sense. So we are not locked into where we manufacture, but what we are really locked into is creating an amazing high quality product. So and this is what I touched on with the confidence of our supply chain. Our supply chain has networks of manufacturers globally, and that's something that we can make carefully considered decisions on where we get manufactured. And so we are not locked into anything, but we do have those aspirations of with what we're doing. So what we're being locked into is being the leader in sustainability in this area.
Yeah, and just oh, sorry, you go, Bronte.
I think we're going to say the same thing, Lib. You go.
No, you please. I've said enough.
We did spend a long time looking at Australian manufacturers. This was sort of
Yeah.
a year of work at the start. I knew this is what Libby was going to say. And there is some really exciting innovation coming out of Australia that we would love to bring into our supply chain at some point. But that's sort of how we don't want to have that key supplier risk, but you only have one supplier, which is why we have access to an entire network. However, all of the actual manufacturing does happen overseas, but cannot wait until we get some of the Australian innovation into that space as well.
Yeah, it was. I'll be the honest one. Australia just didn't have the technical capabilities to do the level of activewear that we needed. We got so many samples. We were dedicated. Like Chris and I scoured every person we could possibly unturn to have this as an Australian-made product, or to have it in the closer islands around Australia. But the reality is that recycled fabrics are quite different to the virgin synthetics. And there's different ways you have to sew them to get the stretch right, to get them to sit right in the body, so you're not wasting fabric. And we just couldn't find the right solution. So yeah, but we've got our innovation labs as well, Japan, USA, and we do have those deeper networks. So it's a work in progress, and we have lots of different things that we're sampling at all times. And we still hope one day we can be an all Aussie operation for our gold medalist co-founder here, but it's not the case yet.
Awesome. We're coming to the end of the product questions, but I've got two more for you. So, do you have a warranty on the product at the moment? So, if someone buys it and then isn't happy with it, are they able to return it to you? And what does that look like?
Yes.
First one.
Yes. Yes, they can return it and will be fully refunded.
Okay, awesome. And Chris, this is one for you. Is there IP protection in place? Patents, trademarks, anything
Yeah.
else?
The great thing about any investment in Earthletica is you have an in-house intellectual property lawyer on as a co-founding team. So you're in an awesome position to be confident that I bring that area of knowing when it is appropriate to have IP protection, but also knowing that it's because of the experience that I have, it's a more nuanced decision for what is making carefully considered decisions on what makes the most what's going to bring the business the best commercial outcome. So where it is appropriate, absolutely, we're going to have IP protection, but also we want to build a really strong, successful business, and we don't want to put all of our eggs into one basket if it's not going to have the commercial outcomes. So absolutely, we are so motivated on having IP protection as a company and with our partners, but we also know that there's it's a broader picture of we want to bring great products to market, and some of that might not be through IP. It might be some of the fantastic relationships that we've built, which as an IP lawyer, I can say anyone can become an IP lawyer. It's really hard to bring strong relationships with the world leaders in this area. So in some ways, our relationships are almost just as important for where we are right now, but ready to scale for the protection as well.
And we do have trademarks and
Yes.
those sort of protections for
Yes, we
Earthletica
do.
and quite a few of our taglines as well.
Yeah, awesome. I knew you'd enjoy that question, Chris. Let's talk a little bit about your customers. So a lot of your customers have come to you organically through word of mouth, but you are principally in online sales. So are they kind of mostly in Australia? Do you have customers overseas? Where are your customers today?
They're mostly in Australia. Yeah. We have got some overseas. We've had some definitely from the US coming through. Our next phase and why this raise is so important to us is, like we said, we've started that marketing testing, and we've now got everything in place to just be able to turn that tap on, which is a really exciting place to be in. But I'll pass to you, Bronte, because you had something to say there.
No, I was going to say the same thing. We do ship overseas. We have had customers overseas, Germany, US, across Europe and Asia, but we do focus on Australia first, and it makes a lot of sense. This is where our biggest leverage is. So it is our primary market.
Fantastic. And I know that you mentioned during the presentation you haven't invested a lot to date so far in marketing because you have had such strong organic growth. But do you have a sense of what your customer acquisition cost is, and how are you expecting it will change as you do start to spend in marketing?
Yes, so CAC is the one thing that I left off, that cost of customer acquisition. Our initial testing shows that it is below industry average. When we do our financial modeling, we put it at $95, which our testing shows that it's actually below that. But whenever I'm modeling, I have conservative numbers in there. So we expect it to be a bit lower than that. The industry average is about 80, so we price ourselves a little bit higher. But it is significantly lower because of our initial testing has showed a CAC of 50. So I do expect that to increase as we go beyond our an immediate network. So the people that we start marketing to are people that might be familiar with myself or with Libby, and those people are obviously easier to acquire. So as we go broader than that, we expect that to increase, which is why I model it off of a 95 cost of acquisition, which still gives us a good return if our average order value is $175. So we only have initial testing in cost of acquisition. So it's a number that I think will change quite a lot as we continue to go through this process. But I do expect it to remain below industry average because of the competitive advantage that myself and Libby bring to the space.
Awesome. There's a few questions coming through here, which I might take moderator's privilege and jump in and answer around the structure of the raise and those kinds of questions. So I'll bunch a bunch of these things together, but the raise will take place via Birchal, which is the intermediary platform. We will run a crowdsource funding raise, which means that as an investor, you will get ordinary shares in Birchal, and this will be a priced round. So there's no safe notes, convertible notes, any of those kind of instruments that you might have heard of. It's a priced round and ordinary shares. So when you invest in Earthletica, once the campaign wraps up, you'll be issued your share certificates and you will be a shareholder with your name on the cap table alongside all of the other investors. The specifics around the valuation of the company and the share price will be available next Tuesday when the offer goes live. The reason why I won't let the team say what they're thinking about it now on this call is we have quite heavy regulations around what we're allowed to say to a retail investor audience, and I don't want to give you wrong information in case it changes between now and next week. The reason why that's important is the team is currently taking feedback in their conversation with investors around things like the valuation of the business. So if you're interested in having that conversation, feel free to book a call with Chris or one of the other members of the team, and they can talk you through what they're thinking about and get your feedback. But otherwise, the valuation and the share price, as well as the minimum raise size for the round and the maximum raise size that the team is looking at bringing on, will all be available next Tuesday when the offer goes live. When it comes to how, as an investor, you can make money off investing in something like Birchal, again, I need to do my job and say that we can't, no one can guarantee returns, and investing into a private company is, in its nature, a risky and illiquid investment. So please make sure you have a look through the details of that on the Birchal website. But as a shareholder in a business like Earthletica, you can typically make money in one of two ways. So the first one is, in this round, you will buy shares at a certain share price, and as the company grows and is successful over time, the price per share of the company will get higher. And so that's number one way that you can make money as a shareholder, is the company itself increases in value, your shares increase in value per share. And if down the line there's someone who wants to make an acquisition bid for the company, or a later stage investor who wants to come in and buy a large number of shares, you can sell your shares down the line at a higher price than what you've paid for them. So that's making money by way of increasing the valuation of the company. The second way is if you invest in the company and you're a shareholder, and in a number of years when the company's at a stable level of growth and they're no longer investing all of their profits back into the business to continue growing, they can actually distribute those profits to their shareholders. So what that normally looks like is, at the end of the financial year, you'll assess how much profit the company has made, and then the board of the company can make a decision to distribute those profits to shareholders in the format of dividends. And so for a company at an early stage like Earthletica is, you should expect that if you are going to be getting dividends, they'll be a number of years in the future. You're not likely to get dividends anytime soon because, as I mentioned, all of the profits in a growing business like this will be reinvested into the growth of the business to try and build that value in the company and expand to new markets to try and deliver greater value to all of you as shareholders in the longer term. So hopefully that answers a few of the technical crowdsource funding questions that have come through. Team, there's a question in here for you. There's a couple of questions actually around your kind of growth plans, which again, I'll go through and sort of respond question by question as you're answering the next one. Because we have a retail investor audience here, we're not allowed to share things like projections or anything internal modeling for the team. If you are a wholesale investor, again, you can book a time and have a chat with the team and they can share a little bit more with you. Unfortunately, those are the rules when it comes to crowdsource funding. But I know you do have quite aggressive growth aspirations of the business. Can you talk about some of the, and you have aggressive growth aspirations of the business and you're quite early stage now. So you've been working mostly to build the foundations for the last couple of years. You've done a bunch of sales. You've got some really impressive early stage metrics, but to achieve the type of growth and expansion that you're shooting for is going to be a really huge increase in all of those metrics. So can you talk a little bit about some of the priorities of how you're going to use this capital to grow the business and what aspects of your growth strategy are you most excited about?
No, thank you. There's quite a lot in there. We obviously do use forecasting and financial modeling as part of our decision making, but that is not something that we can share in this audience right now. So rest assured that we do look at these numbers all the time. Our growth and expansion. So we are an early stage business. We're actually, Chris would kill me if I didn't mention this. We're actually self-assessed E6. So that's an early stage investment company, which means that there's some tax benefits when you invest in an ESIC company as well. So we are incredibly early stage, and we have spent this period testing our product and testing our market. So we have spent this time testing really small product runs, selling out those runs, iterating on the product, making sure that the supply chain's ready to go, making sure that we've got the right suppliers that can actually scale and not just do small runs. That's where most of our investment and time has gone in the last 3 years. Now, when we look at the future, if we look at a business as the most simple thing in the world as making a great product and telling people about it, we're now moving to telling people about it, part of it. And this is where we start looking at marketing and marketing properly. This is why we're bringing in Prasad, who'll be working with us in the performance marketing side of things. Performance marketing lends itself really well to the digital space, and we're working with someone that has experience in this space. But as I said, it is not the only activity that you can do. We will use myself and Libby to grow the business by being the best ever brand ambassadors and bringing extra value to the community. I will just say that this is Libby's absolute superpower. If she was put on the earth to do one thing, is to build communities. This is what she has done over and over again in all of her different businesses. So it's that I know that that's the part that Libby is most excited about.
Yeah,
is getting involved in a broader community there. So there are a number of activities that sit underneath this. The most important thing is that you do not go all in all at once and immediately start spending $100,000. We know what it looks like to scale a product business. Why do we know why this looks like? Because Libby Babbitt is the co-founder of Chief Nutrition, which is a product business that it is scaled. So she knows exactly what this looks like. You start out with a smaller spend, looking at about $5,000 a month in marketing, and then you grow that. We have modeled this out, and we can see what the expected returns are. Even with, I will just share this because this is not a projection. This is something that has happened in the last month. The last month we've been spending in advertising mainly around the raise, so it's not even targeted at our customers, and we've already seen a dramatic increase in sales that put us at a run rate that will bring us to 200K for the year, and that's like for this last 2.5 weeks. So this is like another indication of what happens when we start spending in marketing and tell the right messaging. So There's a few elements. There's the performance marketing, there's taking up the psychological space, there's taking up the physical space, which is part of building that community. And then there's making sure that we're incrementally doing it and reaching our audiences in the way that they want to be spoken to.
Awesome. Thank you. There's a couple of questions that have come through around the sources of funding that you've used to grow the business to date so far, why you've chosen crowdsource funding now, and what benefit you hope to get from your crowd community of shareholders once the raise is over.
I can think of nothing better than crowdsource funding for a product business, like especially in Australia, where we're taking people along the journey with us, and our real hope is that everyone who is part of this round is the biggest advocate for Athletica everywhere, and really does get the
Tell
word out.
everyone.
We
Part of
have seen. We've seen this work really well with consumer businesses overseas. Revolut Bank is a really great example that leveraged their crowdsource raise into creating a really amazing customer base. What have we done before this? We do have some safe notes which we raised last year, from some really impressive investors, including Billy Smith, who works at Billio, that innovation lab that we were talking about, including people that are one of the designers of the Apple iPhone, including people that are ex-IDEO. We have some incredible people already sitting on our cap table. That's jargon again. So sitting in our investor network that are already part of this journey, and we're looking to add incredible people to that as well.
Okay, great. We're coming to the end of our webinar, and I've still got lots of questions here. So if I don't get to all of your specific questions, I'll pass them through to the team and they can come back to you individually. So, all right. So there's a question on here around how quickly can your current manufacturers and supply chains scale up? Like once you have this raise and you've got the money in, you can spend on increasing your marketing and winning more customers. Is there going to be a lag on when you can fulfill it, or is your supply chain ready to go?
It's going to happen like that. This is why we've actually waited so long to scale. We have done, many kind of runs with different manufacturers, testing them, testing their depth, testing their speed, testing their sustainability, pushing the limits, making sure they're, certified for not just incredible environmentals, but treating their staff well and all these fabulous things. So we have done the deep work in this space. We're with a manufacturer and a manufacturing group now that are just next level, both in innovation, in team, in delivery, and in depth. And Chris, if you want to talk a bit more about that, all good. But we joke that Chris is, the lawyer, but in actual true fact, I'm the biggest energy driver, but I can be the biggest pessimist in terms of what about XYZ problems, and I will push and push to get to the very bottom of it. We're very, very confident right now. In fact, we are holding them back, if that makes sense. Like they're like, come on, we're ready, let's go. And we're the ones, as soon as we kind of let go of that rubber band, we're able to fling and get that product out the door. So I personally, being the product person, am very excited for that moment. And if you have anything else to say about that, Chris, go for
it. Just to jump in, our supply chain are ready, willing, and able to be able to fulfill extremely significant orders. But something we haven't touched on so far is that we've recently become a B Corp certified company, and that was an extraordinary amount of work in order to become a B Corp certified company, and that's been done over our supply chain as well. So that's not just about our fabrics; that's around the working conditions and all of the myriad of obligations that go into that assessment. So we can scale, but as a B Corp certified company, we're also going to do it ethically, responsibly, and sustainably.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. It's almost like you're reading the questions. Maybe you are. So we're in the last couple of minutes. Let's try and do lightning round, and we'll get through a few of these questions really quickly. So just on the manufacturing, have any of you been to the facility or any plans to go?
I have personally been to the facilities and can vouch for the working conditions and the manufacturers and work. So yes, we have been, and we can personally vouch for how they've been manufactured.
Awesome. And B Corp is no small thing. I've been through certification with a couple of companies before, so they are exhaustive in their questions. Next lightning round. Any plans to hire a product designer anytime soon?
Yeah, so Libby's head of product. We do have a designer that we work with as well, who does the more technical part of the product design. That design team, as we expand our product range, will have to expand as well. So
Definitely.
we probably should
Definitely.
have put that in there, that we do actually work with someone that is more technical in this space as well.
Yes, 100%. We've got someone, but I do see that team having to grow. Like, we've got a great product owner. She's beautiful. She's wonderful. But her and I will definitely, we've got the next couple of stages under our wing, but we definitely will be looking to expand that team.
Awesome. So any budding product designers, shoot Libby a note.
Let us know.
Does your use of recycled fabrics limit the colours that you can use?
No, it doesn't. More so the kind of like dyes and finishes that we choose not to use some of those limitations, but we don't see it in that way. We've certainly managed to create, I mean, most of our products actually, because funny we say this, we're now a fully fledged e-commerce brand, but we actually began as a subscription only brand. And that was due to us kind of testing, learning, as we said. And so throughout that process, we actually experimented with a lot of color. So you'll see a lot of range on our site. And it was a great process for us because we had to keep things diversified for a small audience at the start. We really quickly learned how to work with color in the sustainable space. And it's actually one of we talked about our technical designer. It's actually one of her specialties. So yeah, we love working with color, and no, it doesn't really limit us. There are some things that we obviously won't touch, but there's many, many ways to get around it, and many amazing kind of natural dyes that are out there now, many ways to make sure the fabric looks and feels beautiful. So
awesome. Well, that is perfect. Thank you so much. And team, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your energy. It's really awesome to hear the great work that you've done so far and the plans for the future. So we're just going to wrap up there because we are at time. But thank you again for coming along to this webinar, spending part of your lunchtime with us. The recording will be available afterwards if you joined late, or for anyone who you might know who wasn't able to join us, we'll email it around, and it will also be on the Earthletica profile page on the Birchal website. So the early access offer campaign, the expressions of interest campaign for Earthletica, is open for another week. So if you haven't already, make sure you get across to the Birchal website and express your interest in being part of the campaign. That means that you'll be one of the first people who gets access to the offer when it does go live next Tuesday, and you can be one of the first ones to become a shareholder in this awesome sustainable business. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Chris, Libby, and Bronte, for the excellent thoughts and presentation. And we will share this around after the call. Thanks, everyone.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.